Hey YouTubers, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I thought that we'll talk about the new it's not the new government scheme, it's been out for a while.
But that's keeping the UK economy going.
That comes in later.
Oh, okay.
So in today's video, I thought we'll talk about the government scheme that's basically keeping millions of jobs still alive. And the scheme I'm talking about is the job retention scheme, furlough. Now obviously, many people have been furloughed since March. And now we're in the 5th month of the scheme as it's July. Now the government have agreed to continue the scheme up until the end of October. However, key things were mentioned last week that could affect you if you have been furloughed. Now I'm going to try and cover all of the key factors about the furlough scheme in this video. Now while you watch the intro video, why not hit the like button if you've been furloughed or if you know someone else that's been furloughed as well. Or just hit it because it's going to help the YouTube algorithm to get this video recommended to other people on YouTube. So first of all, what is furlough? Well, basically, it's a term usually used in the military where a vacation or leave of absence has been granted to someone enlisted. And essentially the UK government identified that more than 9 million people will be unable to do their job because of the coronavirus and therefore introduced a furlough scheme. Now this scheme was designed to help the millions of people who are likely to be made redundant or put on leave due to the virus outbreak that halted the UK economy. So at a very high level, until now, the government were promising to pay companies 80% of an employee's salary, up to a maximum of £2,500 a month. However, that employee was not allowed to be working for the company during this period, so they were furloughed. Now, how is the scheme changing? As the economy begins to reopen and shops and restaurants begin to open their doors again at a limited capacity, the coronavirus job retention scheme is essentially what's allowing millions of people to still live their life, as their employees have asked them to not come into work during this whole pandemic. However, now furloughed staff are allowed to go back to work at a part-time basis. Now this means that an employer could pay someone to work 2 days a week while the furlough scheme would cover the other 3 days. Now, at the same time, the government is also encouraging employers to bring staff back to work. Well, I guess there's a fine line between encouraging or not, because the encouragement comes in forms of forcing companies to start paying part of the furlough payment. Now currently in UK, we have a minimum auto-enrollment pension plan that were put in place by the government in April 2019. This meant that your employer would have been putting at least 3% of your qualifying earnings into the pension scheme. Now, since the furlough scheme started back in March, the government has also been covering this 3% on behalf of the employer as well as the national insurance payment. But from the 1st of August, the employers will have to start paying national insurance and pension contributions to their staff again. Then, in September, employers will then have to pay 10% of their furloughed staff's salary, while the government will continue to pay for the remaining 70%. Then in October, employers will have to start paying 20% of their furloughed staff's salary, while the government will continue to pay for 60%. And the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, confirmed that the scheme will close at the end of October, but also acknowledged that this will be a difficult moment and that he understands that some jobs will not be protected. Now this naturally raised the question for millions of people on furlough, whether they can be made redundant while being on furlough. And unfortunately, the short answer is yes. Employees can be made redundant at any point during the scheme, and of course there are many concerns that there may be significant job losses when the scheme ends. Now the government has provided further encouragement to employers to retain as many jobs as possible by promising to pay businesses £1,000 for every furloughed employee that are kept on payroll until the end of January. Now these workers must also have been paid an average of at least £520 a month between November and January. Now it's also key to know that any employee that is entitled to redundancy pay should have this calculated based on what they were earning before they were put onto furlough. Now another popular question is, can I work if I've been furloughed? And basically, When the scheme began in March, staff were not allowed to work for their employer. However, now they're allowed to go back on a part-time basis. This is due to the reopening of the hospitality sector from the 4th of July in England. In the meantime, furloughed staff are encouraged to volunteer in the community or even volunteer for the company that they work for, but they can't do any work that can create revenue or provide a service. Now, if you work for more than one company, you can also receive furlough from any of them up to the value of £2,500 a month per employer. How popular has the scheme actually been? Well, there's been 9.3 million workers furloughed since March, where HMRC has recorded £25.5 billion of furlough claims by the end of June. And they have estimated that the full cost of the scheme will cost the government $80 billion in total. So the scheme covered full-time employees, part-time employees, flexible timed employees, zero-hour employees, and even agency workers. However, the key factor was that they had to be on PAYE payroll as of 19th of March 2020. Also, if you were put on furlough, you had to stay on furlough for a minimum of 3 weeks, and it is also possible to be furloughed more than once. Now, there were a few more announcements last week that also incentivized companies to bring staff back to work by trying to boost the economy through reductions in VAT as well as discounts on restaurant meals during the month of August. So, what is VAT? Well, VAT stands for value added tax. This is the tax that you have to pay when you buy goods or services. Now, the standard rate of VAT in the UK is 20%, which is usually charged on half of the things that we spend on our household items. Now, there's also a reduced rate of 5% that is applied for essentials, such as child car seats and things like home energy. Now, there are also items that you don't need to pay VAT on at all, such as most supermarket foods, children's clothing, newspapers, and magazines. Now, I also feel it's quite important to understand how much money VAT raises as part of the economy. So the Office of Budget Responsibility predicted back in March that VAT will raise the UK economy around £136 billion from 2019 to 2020. Now that's equivalent to £4,800 per household, and it also represents 17% of all the money that the government receives in tax. Just put this into perspective, in 2018 to 2019, VAT was the third largest income generator for the UK government. Now this was after income tax and national insurance contributions. So Rishi Sunak announced that the government will be cutting the rate of VAT on hospitality and tourism from 20% down to 5%. And this will come into effect from 15th of July and will continue through until the 12th of January 2021. So you can see straight away a 15% decrease is going to make a huge impact into the UK economy. Now you also need to remember that this is also going to reduce the cost of food and non-alcoholic drinks in restaurants, pubs and cafes, as well as hot takeaway food as well. Now on top of all of that, accommodations in hotels and B&Bs and admissions to attractions such as theme parks and cinemas will all come down in price, therefore enticing the consumers to spend more into the economy again. Now on top of all of that, they also announced a scheme called Eat Out to Help Out. This is where 50% discounts will be offered to every diner up to the value of £10 a head from Monday to Wednesday throughout the month of August. Now this will cover all foods and non-alcoholic drinks only, and it only applies to participating restaurants, pubs or cafes. So clearly the UK is trying their best to boost the economy and help employers bring back their furloughed staff. However, the big question is all this going to be enough? Now will it be enough to bring the UK economy back to normal? And I guess time will only tell. Also, there's always that dreaded question that's on the back of everyone's mind. Is there going to be a second wave that forces us all back into lockdown? And I guess as it stands, there's nothing we can really do apart from hope for the best and try and find that balance between being safe as well as getting our lives somewhat back to normality. Now I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on how the government is attempting to boost the economy. And as always, remember to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell button so you get notified when my next video comes out. And always remember to like, share and comment. See you in the next video. Bye.